G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Terry Begue from Begue Painting, based about an hour south of Cleveland in Ohio, United States. Thanks for your time today, Terry.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. We've both recently started using Podmatch, a matching service for guests and podcasts, and we've had some really good guests on over the last 6 months. So I appreciate your time today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. It's great to have a chance to talk about my book and a few things like that, and just talk about my my painting business. I enjoy it. I still love what I do.
Well, let's get into that. Like, you tell us a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money. And incredibly, you said a minute ago before we hit record, you've been doing this for 44 years.
Yeah, this is going to be my I started my business when I was 18 years old, right out of high school.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I picked it was the only trade that I knew, but I couldn't figure it out at first. I had a few jobs when I was a teenager, but I never got fired. I just never stuck around very long either. But what I finally figured out about myself is I was just a diehard entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I couldn't work for somebody. And so I knew I had to do it. I went to college. That ended up being about the worst 4 weeks of my life.
4 weeks.
Yeah, not 4 years.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to make it in business because I wanted to make above average income. And I knew without a college degree, I needed to own a business. And I love the service industry.
Yeah.
And so I started a painting company.
Great. And so, and that's the exterior of houses mainly?
Yes. At first I would take anything. And that's when things were really tough. I tell people I've been at both ends of the spectrum. I was at the lowest of lows. I was fighting it out in low price wars with the bottom feeders in my industry, taking any job that I could find. And it was really rough. Because I married my wife at a young age. She was just 19 and I was 21. We didn't have to, we wanted to.
Yep.
And I promised her a good life, and I said, stick with me. We're going places. And oh my God, by that first Christmas, I was rolling pennies to buy her a Christmas gift. I mean, I was a train wreck, and it was hard. It really hurt me. It really affected me. And it took me a long, long time to get it turned around and figure it out. Part of it was my own stubbornness. Now looking back, and I know these questions, we'll talk about this more later, is I just couldn't ask for help. And it was really foolish on my part.
Yeah, I was similar early on, young entrepreneur, stubborn. You need a bit of that to get through for the resilience, but you also need to have an open mind and get mentors in around you to break down that ego and hubris.
Right. I'm probably not like your average guest. Like I said, I've been at both ends, and I started small. I'm not a big company now, but I have grown, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, over 4 decades, Terry is testament to your success in business. So I've just done the math. I think I've had enough coffee this morning. So 1978, you started?
In 1978, correct.
Yep. And so how many years did it take from then to get out of that competing on price mentality?
To turn it around, I can tell you, some people know the year things changed. I can tell you the very minute my life changed. And it's kind of a funny story. I talk about it a little bit in my book. I came home from work one day after we'd been married 8 years or so, and my wife's sitting on the couch with tears in her eyes, and never a good sign, right?
No.
Come home and see that. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she looked at me and had 3 little words for me that changed my life forever. They weren't "I love you." They were, "Terry, I'm pregnant."
Yeah.
And it's the craziest thing. It was like a switch had flipped in my brain. All of a sudden, this crappy lifestyle that I had been providing her was no longer going to be good enough. And I made a decision that very day that I was going to take action. I was going to figure things out. I was still really independent, and I didn't ask for help as much as I should have, but I did do some key things. And the interesting point about that story is by the time our son was born 8 months later, I had doubled my income and doubled it again over the next year. And within a few months of him being born, we moved into a new house. And we were just, at the time when I found out, we were just in a little 1-bedroom apartment. So it took me 8 years of just doing nothing, just existing and not challenging life, not challenging anything, just going with the flow. And it took that one little thing to change everything for me, but it all turned around for me in a very short time, in less than a year. And I know, so I stopped fearing taking chances, because I knew if I did it once, I could always do it over and over. I could do it again.
Now, if my maths is also correct, that would have been about 1989, 11 years into your journey.
Not quite. It would have been 1988. Yeah, real close to what you're saying.
Yeah.
My son was born in 1988. That's how I remember it.
So the backdrop of that also is obviously the market crash of 87. October, was it October 87?
Yeah, it wasn't a good time to decide I was going to turn things around.
No,
but
heading into a recession, but you doubled revenue and massively boosted profits over the next year or so.
Yeah, I found a way to paint houses that we were able to turn jobs over very quickly. It used to be just by myself. And then I found, once I took a chance. I didn't have the work, but I hired 3 guys, didn't really know what they were doing. They were kind of friends of mine at the time, but we were painters, we could figure it out. And what I used to do in just a week, now we were doing in a day.
Wow.
And once I was able to keep that pipeline full, I learned a certain type of house we could paint and get in and out in one day. And that's when everything blew up for me. I doubled several more times out over that time. To this day, we only work about 8 months out of the year because we're outside painters here in Ohio.
Yep.
The season only allows for that, but we still do over 100 houses in a summer.
That's phenomenal.
Just a handful of guys. And the reason we're able to turn them over so quickly and get better and better and better, and our profits still keep going up, is I'm able to avoid the jobs. The newest thing I've done, avoid the jobs that I know will pull you down, the labor intensive, the hard customers to work for. I've learned who to work for, who not to work for. And being able to make those choices and decisions has really made a difference in my bottom line.
Yep. Fantastic. Before we get on to key numbers, just maybe mention to the audience your book and your course as well. Explain a little bit about those.
Sure. My book is titled Attract and Keep Customers for Life. And it's the subtitle, I think, maybe explains what it's about even more. And what the subtitle is 4 abilities to build trust, communicate your value, and charge what you're worth. And that's really what my business is. So many people said, you need to write a book, because they saw what I had did and what I had done. And they said, this is different, write about this, do it. And for years they told me that, but I finally got it done a few years ago. I had surgery on my arm and I couldn't paint for like 3 months. And I thought, okay, this is my opportunity.
Yep.
It took me like a year and a half though to write that book, but I'm so excited about that. And when it was done, people said, we'd like to know more. There's other things that you do that aren't in your book. And so then I created a course that just released about 2 weeks ago. We just came out with it, and we're doing offering a special price for the first, I don't know what it is, first 10 clients, and it's just rolling out. We call it Unnoticed to Unforgettable.
Yep. Great. We'll link through to both those in the show notes, actually. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So on to let me ask, what was the experience like writing the book?
Writing the book, it was fun, because of course I did it in the winter, and over a couple of winters I did it. I had an editor, so somebody I could bounce my ideas off of. That helped a lot. It was self-published though. And it's been fun. I keep changing it. Actually, I just I'm going to be getting it back any day now with a new improved version, where I talk about customer percentages, as far as, the ones that stay, the ones that leave, why they leave, what it costs to get a customer back, or just to keep your customers rather than trying to always find new customers. And I added a lot more stats. I brought it much more up to date, but it's been a lot of fun. I created a lot about, there's a chapter right off. I talk about developing your personal brand. And I talk about, in this day and age, there's a digital brand too, and how to increase your audience and your authority through digital marketing, and little things that I've been doing, podcasting, one of them.
Yep.
And how easy they are for business owners to do, and how much they help in the overall scheme of things.
It sounds like it's the perfect book for people early in their business career that are stuck in that cost mentality, competing on price mentality, which is, as you know, is a race to the bottom. We certainly did it early on in the first few years of our web design development company. Our accountant said, you've got to up your prices, because we weren't making any money. And we said, we can't, we'll lose clients. And he said, exactly, you're going to lose the wrong clients, the shitty ones that pay late or just are hard to handle. And that's what we did. He came back a few months later and said, you got to raise them again, and we did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. That's great to hear, and I know that's what's helped me. It seems like, and honestly, the more I niche my business, the more I say no to my customers, the more they want me.
Yep.
It's the craziest thing. I found success is really, and I'll probably bring this up later a few times, keeping that pipeline so full that it doesn't matter if you get hired from every customer or not.
Yep.
Although I look at everyone like I want to work for them as long as I know they're a good fit for us. And I try to get every job, and it's keeping that pipeline full. I mean, it's not unusual for us to be 40 or 50 houses booked ahead,
Right.
in just 8 months. That's a lot to be booked ahead, but it takes a lot of pressure off, I guess
Yeah.
you could say.
And
Mhm.
do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the 44 years, but even more recently when you made those changes of better systems and niching down?
Well, gosh, I've more than, let me see, I doubled my business right away when my wife said she was pregnant. I mean, within 8 months. And the reason for that was, I think, hiring people and
Yep.
starting that niched into that outside, turning jobs over quickly. Then I doubled it again over the next year. And the reason for that was, and again, those were 100% increases. And the reason for that was, I think, fine tuning what jobs paid the best and staying away from the ones that don't pay so well. And that, I'll tell you, that's been an ongoing process for me though. But those were the 2 big years, and then it's gotten better and better. And I know I'm on track. I don't have a lot of numbers or a lot of graphs I could use. I guess there isn't too much of that in my book. But one thing that does tell me I'm doing things right is I have not advertised since 2012, and yet
Wow.
my business still continues to grow every year. So I
Yeah,
know I'm doing things the right way. We're all repeat and referral, in other words. So
that's great.
um, I
Mm.
have a website, but I look at that as more a video brochure, or
Yep.
and just so people, company awareness, people know we're there. But really, I don't advertise, and I love being in that position because I probably get 95% of the jobs I bid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic number conversion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many full-time equivalents did you start out with 44 years ago, and what number are you up to now?
As far as full time,
Yeah.
it was just me, and
Yep.
I was like two full time because I was working
Yep.
78
Of course.
hours a week.
Yep.
But now I have about 5 employees, and
Yep.
that's for the key months of the year. In the winter months, I don't I like I said, I work on other things. I work on my product, the book, and things
Yep.
like that. So really, we just hammer it out for 8 months out of the year. But we do so well. I'm able to stay on payroll. I keep my salary through the winter. I love doing that,
Yep.
and not painting when I want to. So when
Yeah.
it's fun.
That's great. You haven't advertised for over 10 years, and your team's around 5 people. It's a good sized business. So that's a wonderful achievement.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, we pick and choose our jobs, and I love being in that position. I don't tell people no. I never liked my colleagues. A lot of them would say, "No, we don't do that," or "You got to find someone to do that first, then we'll be in." I always, if I tell them no, I try to give them someone else that they could call,
Yeah.
and treat my customers more like they're my friends, right? Because it's all about that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And out of interest, have you thought about maybe doubling the number of team members and getting the business bigger, or is it now just at a size that it's good for your lifestyle, I guess?
It is. And I should say, when things were rolling like that, I did start a second crew and was thinking about starting a third crew because we had this process down. It was easy to run these jobs because the guy who did the spraying, he knew what was going on, so I can break away. And I got to the point where we had 2 crews, and even breaking away a little bit sometimes on a third. And at that time, we started doing 180, 190 houses in just 8 months. And the quality started to drop off,
Yeah.
and I couldn't stay on top of things. I like to be there. I like to be with my customers. It's probably a fault of mine that I micromanage my guys maybe too much. I'm learning. I'm trying to back away from that. But I found that just staying in the one crew and just doing the easiest, nicest, best
Yeah.
paying jobs
Mm.
is where I want to stay. I mean, at my age, I'm really not looking to um, for more numbers. I just want to keep it easy and smooth, and create a good product that the owners are happy with.
Yeah, right. So would you say then you peaked at around 10 or 12 full-time or team members?
At one time, yes, I
Yeah.
was there, where I had 4 or 5 guys on each crew,
Yep.
and I'd bounce around between them. That was another thing. I was going 100 miles an hour, but I was dealing with my customers even less.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. All my time was dealing with employees.
Mm.
And another thing I learned, I was emotional with them. And I'm sure, you got to leave emotions out of the whole
Yep.
equation. And I didn't do that. And that was a real lesson for me.
Yep. Yep.
And when you have a business all your life, it becomes like your baby. You want to massage it and make sure if something's wrong, you go fix it. You don't have
Yep.
processes like I should do, but I'm learning. I'm getting there.
When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
The moment when I felt like I succeeded, um, gosh, this is, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to go ahead. It was when I was meeting with my financial advisor about 3 years ago, and he looked at me, and it was always a dream in the back of my mind. I wanted to be a millionaire back when I was a train wreck with my painting business. I told my wife, someday I'm going to be a millionaire. And my financial advisor said to me about 3 years ago, congratulations, you're a millionaire. And I thought, you're kidding me. I said, oh my gosh. And he showed me right there on paper. So I know that's kind of an arrogant thing to say. And I don't know how else to say it, but that was the moment I realized I was successful.
Sorry, keep going.
And I guess to take it one step farther, when I realized I had choices, that I could go take the jobs I want, work for the people I wanted to work for, and do the things that I wanted to do. When I had freedom and choices, that was another stepping stone for me. It made me realize, yes, I had arrived.
Well, that might touch on the next question of what does success look like to you? So having that freedom and flexibility.
Yep, the flexibility, having choices, knowing I can go to work, or if I don't want to, I don't have to. Although I never choose that, honestly. I become almost like it's your mission to get out there and just create business. And I'm obsessed with having customers tell me they love our system, they love the product that I turn out, and seeing those testimonials. That's what really keeps me motivated. But knowing I have the choices to do what I want to do, that's what keeps me fired up, I think.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Take yourself out of the equation. I think we could only grow as fast as I grew personally. I wouldn't let my guys lead like I should have. So put your people in charge and let them lead. Don't try to micromanage. And I think that was what hurt me. That held me back a lot. I tried to micromanage my guys too much. And I see that now as being a mistake. And that's something I would share is teach your guys to lead, and then let them lead. Let them know they have full control over making decisions.
Yep.
But what has helped me a lot is joining a professional association. This is during those turning points. And not be afraid to get out there and talk and meet people and let people know what you do. But joining professional associations, that has helped me a lot. There's an association called NARI, National Association of the Remodeling Industry. And during that time when my wife said she told me she was pregnant, that's the first thing I joined them. And instantly I became, like, in the customer's eyes, I was like all these other professional people. In my mind, I didn't feel like I was a professional until I did that. And that was a great marketing tip for myself. And in the service industry, I think a great way to market your business, we get a lot of leads, is those, if you have home and garden shows where you're at. I know they're pretty big here, and I get a ton of leads, and there's really very seldom is there any other painters in those. But I found those would couple things that really helped me get 50 to 100 good leads in just that 1 week home and garden show.
Yep. How did you fund your business?
How did I was slow coming along. I paid for it as I went. Part of the reason I like painting is you didn't need a ton of money to be in business. They didn't need a lot of equipment. But once I got into the part where we were pressure cleaning houses and then spray painting them, even still, that was only maybe an investment of $10,000 or $15,000. And the paint store would let me finance those and with no interest, as long as I paid them off in 6 months. And with our system of turning jobs over so quickly, that was a piece of cake. Doing that. So I never went to any bank for a loan. I didn't need to. It's probably a good thing, because that would have made me uneasy, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Geez, I guess I would have to, because I really don't know a whole lot of other industries. I mean, I may have done things a little differently. I could have expanded it probably a little bit more. But I think I'd stay in the same thing. But the type of painting that I do, I found, is what pays the best for me. I would spend some time doing new construction, but I found res repaint, where you can spray paint outside, to be the best money-making type of painting that I can do. And that's what we try to fill our calendar with, just those types of jobs.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
My most stressful point, I think, was dealing with employees, I think. And maybe that was just a me thing, but I know everybody I talk to, they seem to say the same thing. That is hard. And
I believe I say that I think it's the hardest thing in small business and where the value's at, because you can't do it on your own.
yeah, right. You can't do it on it, so you need them. But I wasn't good at it because I let emotions get in the way. My business, as I said, it was in my mind, it was my baby. Nobody could do it as well as I could. And that was a huge mistake that I made. But that was the hardest part, was not letting emotions get involved when I'm talking with my crew and my guys.
Yeah. Is there any one moment that stands out that was the most stressful moment in that 44 years?
The most stressful moment for me was probably when my two main guys at the end of the summer, at least they quit me on the same day.
Wow.
And that was only a few years ago. And then with the COVID, it's gotten really hard to replace them, to get more people back. So that was, I guess all of the negative things that I'm saying to you are all built around employees.
Yeah.
And at first I wanted to do everything on my own, but if you want to be successful, you got to let other people lead, I guess. And
Yeah.
and that's just how it is. So that was the biggest stressor for me, I think, when I lost my main guys, and it took me a while to build that back up again.
Yeah. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think keeping that pipeline full, helping my customers see that I give more value than my competition does, because I'm not the cheapest painter, and I tell them that I'm not going to be your lowest bid, and they know that, and they're not looking for the cheapest anyways. But then I also tell them, we're not necessarily do the best job. I mean, I wouldn't say we are we are a turnkey service, but there's probably other painters out there that can do it as well as we do. But what I found that helped the most was stop treating looking at my customers like they were, at one time they were like the enemy to me. Either they hired me and I won, or they didn't hire me and they won. So I looked at them almost like an adversary, which was crazy. But when I started looking at my customers like they were my friends, and treating them like good friends, that's when everything started to turn around for me.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth? I think I know the answer to this.
It's probably, yeah, having to get people to
Yep.
help me get all these houses done.
Yep.
But again, it's been a learning. There's been a learning curve to it a little bit, and it's getting easier.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I think being able to provide a service to people that are excited to hire me. They know about me because they've heard of other people, or they've used me before, and just seeing the finished product at the end of the day. So what we do is very visual, of course, since we're painters, and that's really gratifying to let the owners see that and know they're going to write you a great testimonial. On my website, I have probably 100 of them, and I haven't even put them all up, but it just, that moment when the customer sees the job right when it's done, and they're so excited, and that you turn their home into that, like the sharpest house on the block, and that really is fun for me.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
The biggest mind shift is probably, again, I'm going to come back under knowing that there are people in my crew that can do the job as well or better than I can. I wanted to micromanage everybody, but once you train people, they can figure things out, and just, again, letting them lead, and that mindset that I don't have to do everything, that they're just fine with it too.
I think it's in the DNA of business owners and entrepreneurs. It's a bit of a control thing. There's a lot of risk on the line. So it can take a lot of time and discipline and hard work to let go and trust and delegate. But with that comes training. First, training yourself to be a better manager, and secondly, to train your direct reports and let them go and let them make mistakes, and let them learn from it.
Exactly.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
To be ready for anything every day. Don't let emotions get in the way. I did that a lot. I was emotional about my business, but it has to be emotion free with your customers, with your internal employees, right? Or internal customers, your employees, not getting emotional, and just work through things. If I found conversations, that's a big part of my book. I talk about the importance of communicating your value, but also communicating to everybody in your whole sphere there, everybody that makes up doing business with you, your suppliers, your employees, and the the customers, just everybody, it all comes down to keeping an open line of communication. Me and my guys, we talk every morning about the job. We go over it, we walk around the house, and I found the more we talk, the easier things get. And the same thing with my customers. We keep a very open line of communication. I want to make sure they know what's going on, and I want to know if they're happy, throughout the whole process, because I make a promise to them. This might sound crazy to you, but I tell my customers that I won't turn a bill in until they tell me they're happy.
Yeah.
That's a little bit crazy. I call it risk reversal.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, it sets me apart. It really does.
It's back on communication. It's one of my sayings in a bit of the coaching I do. Communication is the key to any relationship, I believe. And leaders and managers, if you think you're communicating enough, then double or triple it, because you're not.
I love that, because I did everything on my own. So for me, it's been trial and error, but that's so neat to hear, people like you that have been there, and you've worked with, in your company with a lot of people. And for me, it's just been a smaller, I guess, a smaller group, but I come to the same place. You figure it out. And I kind of figured it out the hard way.
Well, I've been going through exactly half the amount of years as you, Terry, but I'm sure you've seen a lot more than I have, but I'm at 22 years. I just started another business, actually. So I bought into another one. So I've now had 28 business partners in 14 businesses across 3 countries. So wow. I've seen a lot of stuff, because in those businesses have been a lot of people and hiring and firing and onboarding, et cetera. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're at opposite extremes there, I think, a little bit. So, but neat to hear. This has been so much fun. I really enjoyed, just having this conversation.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success. Then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
The mistakes, my biggest mistake, I would say, if I could do it over again, is I would look for help. And I was bullheaded when I was young like that. I thought, no, I can figure this out on my own. It's just painting. How hard can that be? But it wasn't painting. It was the business of running the painting business.
Yep.
And that's where I was failing. I thought I was a pretty good painter, and I probably was, I guess. And, compared to most, but that wasn't the ticket. It didn't matter how good I became. Nothing really changed. And, just realizing that you need to get help. You need to reach out for people. And if I had it to do over again, that's the first thing I would have done. I wouldn't have been, and it wasn't even a matter of being afraid to talk to people. I thought I knew enough that I didn't need to, and know that you need help in the beginning. And there's people out there that'll help you. And I found a lot of people like, I bet, like you are, Troy, just guys that have been there, that see you're sincere, and that they'll help you if you ask them. And I didn't think that at first. And if I had it to do over again, that's the first thing I would do, is not be afraid to reach out.
Yep. Great. And what about adding team members to your business? Any tips or words of advice there because you've got extensive experience over 44 years. I'm sure you would have had a lot of,
I have
through the business.
And it's the ones that I talked to the most where things went the smoothest. So again, it would come back to having conversations. Make sure they're happy. I mean, ask questions outside of just the job. Take a little bit of interest. I think some people say you shouldn't be friends with your employees, and I try to limit it as much as I can, but I do take an interest in their life. So that would be the biggest thing, I think, is not be afraid to have conversations. Even outside of what the job is, and just show you care a little bit. Same way with your customers. It all comes down to relationships, and the foundation of the relationship is caring, right?
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
What I would recommend, belong to some professional organizations. I think that helped me a lot, not just NARI. I joined Toastmasters. That helped me a lot, because I wasn't trying to be a better speaker, but I did want to get confidence, and that it really did give me confidence that I had the right message. It helped me refine my story a little bit, what I tell my customers. So professional organizations, I think, is a great way to grow, and just look for people who are where you want to be, and talk to them, and ask for help. Again, that's a big, that was a big thing for me that I missed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great. But what about the culture of the team? Any tips that you'd recommend there to help build and sustain a good culture within your team?
For me, again, it's come down to letting the people know that we all work together on one job. We don't spread out on three, on four different houses in a week. We do four houses in a week, but it's one at a time as a team. We're all there. We all have certain roles, and that having that culture that we all build together, we actually get more done than what four guys could do. What is it? The sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that really is true. I see it in our business because every one of my guys has a certain specialty. One guy's just really good at spraying, one guy at prepping, one guy at caulking and pressure washing, and that's how I set things up with individual roles. So it was having those conversations and letting every person see what their part is in the whole thing that helped the culture to be able to turn jobs over in one day and do it consistently.
Right. Tell our audience how you've handled balance over your 44 years.
Geez, there have been times where I let, the work just get out of control for me. There was a time I worked, I remember 88 straight days without a day off. And looking back, that was insane. But now I learned that family comes first. I learned almost the hard way because I was going down a road I didn't like. And I realized that it's just not, work is not that important. There are some things that are more important than that. But when I let go of work a little bit, I didn't notice it in the bottom line. Let's say the money still came in, and I was worried if I stepped away that we would crash. I don't know what I thought, but it wasn't anything like that. And I started spending more time with family, and I found that didn't create a dip. We still maintain.
Well, yeah, out of interest, so the 4 months of the year you're not working because of weather. There might be a month there where you're doing some business work on the business, particularly marketing. But I assume there's a lot of time in that 4 months where you don't necessarily have to keep yourself busy within the business. So do you and your wife go away for extended holidays?
We do. Our son has moved across the country to some of the warm states, and we go out and see him a couple times a year.
Right.
So I enjoy that. So we're able to get away like that and visit with the grandkids a little bit.
Yeah.
I love working on projects around my house. We live on about 4 acres, so right. I spend the winter cutting trees and clearing out woods and doing some things like that. So I really enjoy that. But this is when I work the most on my book and my course. I always try to add a little to the book every year to try and create just like in my painting business, I want to create a better product. I want this book to, get better and better and better. So I keep updating it. And the winter months is when I work on that too.
Right. Anything else on professional development over the years that you've done, conferences or training courses?
I have been at a few conferences. A couple were in real estate, but one was just T. Harv Eker. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He does all around the country. And I went to a marketing seminar of his over in the other side of the country in LA. And I got a lot out of that. But again, I learned it kept coming back to those conversations with people, just getting out there and putting yourself out there and being proactive to meeting people and letting your customers know what you're about and what you stand for. The books behind me, read every one of them, some of them twice. And that has been huge for me.
Yep.
I'm a big reader, and which is unusual because I wasn't a great student in school. But that was the best way for me to learn about business. All them books back there about your wow factor and the it factor and all those sort of things, ways to stand out in your business.
Yep. Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Not really. Again, most of it has all been through my books, a few courses that I have worked with people. I have a VA who works a lot with she's like the mindset coach, and she works on my mind a lot too. And she's awesome. Tessa, she's out your way in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot, but she's helped me a lot over the years. But I think I've gotten a lot out of my books. They've helped me a lot. And I've, Robert Kiyosaki, and
he's great. Rich Dad,
Poor Dad.
Cashflow Quadrant is the second book I'd highly recommend people reading as well.
I love his books. And Michael Gerber, The E-Myth, and The E-Myth Revisited. I got a lot out of those books too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's my favorite business book. Do you assume you don't have a board of directors or advisors then? It's just yourself?
Yeah, it's always been just me to figure things out. And my wife, I bounce everything off of her.
Yeah. All right, Terry, on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The hardest thing, letting others lead. Letting go. Yep. And that's definitely it for me, because I've done this since I was 18 years old. I'm 63 now. Love what I do, but I'm learning I got to let go. Other people could do the job as well as I can.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
None of the ones we talked about. The book by Jeff Olson, it's called The Slight Edge. I wonder if you haven't read it, you might want to, because it's the same principles. I love it because it's those little things that make all the difference. And that's what his book's about. He says it's these little things that they're so easy to do, they're easy not to do. So a lot of people overlook them. And I've noticed that my book's the same way, made up of a lot of little things, but all put together are really powerful.
Yeah, I haven't read that one. I'm just adding that to my list right now, actually.
Yeah. I love that book, The Slight Edge.
Thank you. Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I wouldn't say, but listening to podcasts like yours have helped me a lot. I do listen to others. I love being a guest, but I also listen to others. I learn a lot from that, mostly the business ones.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
The one tool I think probably what helped me the most was learning to network. Getting out there, not necessarily going in and pitching your pitch fest, selling your product, just getting out there and letting people know what you're about and what you stand for. So I would say networking maybe be the strongest tool that I never used in those early years.
Yep. So finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
What would I have done? No, what would I say to myself?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Quit thinking you know it all. Get out there, ask for help, find someone who's where you want to be. Okay. And then talk to them and ask them what did they do, that is where you want to be. And I see now people who are where I was, and that's one of the reasons I wrote this book. So that would be the biggest thing I would have said to myself. Stop thinking you know it all. Don't be afraid to ask. People don't mind helping you if they see you're sincere. If you really want to be better, and my success, I like to turn that right around and help other people too. And that's what my book's about is, and I tell people in that, don't be afraid to ask for help. People who are the real deal, they're going to help you. They'll find time for you. And that's what I would have said to myself, join a professional organization, get out there and network, let people know what you do. My business could have blew up right from the start, but I had to go through that 8 or 9 years, I guess, first. And I was really, really regretted that at the time. I was so mad at myself. But now looking back, that lesson was priceless.
I think that's a powerful tip. A lot of people, especially early in their business career, think that experienced business people that are further down the road than them or even retired won't want to or have time to, mentor them. But you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people are surprised with how open people are to give of their time, even just an hour a month over coffee or a beer or a lunch. And it's really, really powerful to hear all those mistakes they've made or their opinion on wouldn't go down that road because I've seen that happen or I've made that mistake before. It's
Right. That's why I had to write the book. I had so many mistakes to put in there. I had to make it into a book, but they were good lessons that I learned. And looking back, if I hadn't made those mistakes, I wouldn't be where I am now, I guess. So terrific. I'm happy with that. So,
Thank you so much for your time, Terry. I think the audience will get a lot of value out of what you shared with us. An incredible journey over 44 years. So one full-time equivalent yourself, bouncing up to 12 or 14, and then back down to around 5 now, and still loving what you do, which is great.
I do. We're efficient, and we turn jobs over quick. Our profitability is really strong. I mean, I love at the end of the year when I see I had another record year this year, even though the COVID has hit and it's affected us, a lot. My business has just went crazy. I mean, I went from being 20 houses booked ahead to 40 houses booked ahead, and I don't see that letting up. So it's been a riot, and I just love getting a chance to talk about it. And I'm so grateful for this time, Troy.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on your 44 years success.
Thank you so much.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.